अजीज दोस्तों, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, नमस्ते, सत श्री अकाल, गुड आफ्टरनून। दिसंबर का आखिरी ये जो महीना है, आज से 50 साल पहले भारत के ईस्ट में एक पाकिस्तान का आधा हिस्सा होता था, ईस्ट पाकिस्तान। वहां पे बंगालियों के ऊपर एक कयामत ढा दी गई थी। और क्या कुछ हुआ था उस सिलसिले में जानने के लिए हमने एक लंदन में रहने वाले एक बंगाली साहब हैं, जो कि इंटेलेक्चुअल उस जमाने के हैं, जर्नलिस्ट हैं, जिनकी नजर है इन सारी चीजों पे। हमने उनसे एक चर्चा का बंदोबस्त किया है। इंग्लिश में ये प्रोग्राम होगा। मिस्टर एहसानुल्लाह, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस एंड गिविंग अस टाइम, सर।
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and greetings to you and all your viewers.
Sir, you belong to Bangladesh, which was Pakistan once. And
Yes.
before 1947, there was a movement of creating Pakistan, and that Bengalis were the front runner of that movement. And then Pakistan was created, and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, was the key component of Pakistan independence movement. What happened that they had to seek independence from Pakistan, which they very themselves created that country? What happened, sir?
Well, I think you are correct in saying that the Bengali Muslims of India fought for the creation of Pakistan. As we all know, the All India Muslim League was founded in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, in 1906. The Lahore proposal was put forward by Sher Bangla A.K. Fazlul Haq in 1940, which proposed the idea of a country for the Muslims of India. So you are right in saying that the Bengali Muslims of India wholeheartedly supported the movement for the creation of a homeland of Muslims within South Asia. Your question is what went wrong and why did East Pakistan break away from West Pakistan? It's a fairly long and complex history, and I shan't go into the details. But I think what one can say, it's because of the disparity between the two wings of West and East. And it was I think the failing of the Pakistani state of becoming an inclusive country of all its citizens. The Bengali citizens of Pakistan felt that they were being excluded from running of the country, from its affairs. They were not being given the share of its wealth, access to employment. There were many Bengalis felt that they were being discriminated by the ruling elite, which was based initially in Karachi and then, of course, in Islamabad. As a result, within East Pakistan, there was a very strong movement for self-autonomy for East Pakistan, which was led by Sheikh Mujib and his party Awami League. And as you know from history, there was an election in 1970 of whole of Pakistan. The Awami League, led by Sheikh Mujib, won majority seats in the parliament or the assembly. And I guess the Pakistani military junta with the ruling elite refused to hand power over to Sheikh Mujib, or as they saw, handing power to the Bengalis. So as a result, the Bengali agitation became much more intensive. And finally, on the 25th of March, the Pakistani military launched an attack against the people of the then East Pakistan and, of course, now Bangladesh. So I would say the reason of breakup was because of the fact that Pakistan failed to become a state that was equal to all its citizens.
So Pakistan was created on the basis of two-nation theory. Jinnah said that Hindus and Muslims are two distinct nations and they cannot live together. So we need a separate country for Pakistan. Although there are today in India more Muslims in India than Bangladesh or Pakistan, and they are living there together with Hindus. So this, do you think that with the creation of Bangladesh, that two-nation theory failed, and it was a false theory, fact theory?
I mean, you're right. India is probably the second largest Muslim country after Indonesia, and Pakistan is the third, and we are the fourth largest Muslim country in terms of number. So yeah, there are more Muslims in India than say in Bangladesh or Pakistan. And so your question was whether the two-nation
theory failed. Do you think it failed?
Okay. I'm not sure about the two-nation theory itself, but I think Pakistan as a state has failed, which I said previously, has failed to provide equal access to all its citizens, including the various members of various ethnic groups and various faith community. Pakistan, as you say, was established as a country for the Muslims of India, but later on it changed its characteristics and became a Islamic republic. If I'm correct, I think Muhammad Ali Jinnah had dreamt Pakistan as a secular state, and following the establishment of Pakistan, he had said that from today, everybody, regardless of the fact that they may be Muslim or Christian or Hindu, they're all Pakistani. So I think Muhammad Ali Jinnah had a sincere view and aim for the country. But I think the various military rulers who have come to power have used religion and religious sentiments to justify their rule, and in doing so, they have obviously given priority to the Muslim majority. As a result, many within Pakistan and during the Pakistan period in Bangladesh, many minority community felt that they were not being treated as the equal citizen of the nation. So I think Pakistan has definitely failed on that front in being an inclusive nation, and the best example is East Pakistan breaking away from West Pakistan in 1971.
Sir, there are so many brutalities that we witnessed in East Pakistan, which became Bangladesh. I would particularly ask about one horrific incident which took place in Dhaka University. What was that, sir? Can you give us a detail? Because we heard that intellectuals were killed.
Yes, as I said, the Pakistani army launched a military assault on the 25th of March at just after midnight. We observed that day as Bangladesh Genocide Day because of the killing that took place that was started on the 25th of March and went on for 9 months until the final victory on the 16th of December. I was a child during the Bangladesh War. I may have been 9 or 10 years of age at the time, and I lived in Dhaka in a place called Motijil Colony, which wasn't too far from the police camp, the Rajarbagh police station. And I remember being woken up by my auntie and others, in the household, um, to see, the sky had lit up with fire and explosions and gunfire. And what had happened was the Pakistani military, they had targeted the Bengali police, the members of East Pakistan Rifle, the members of Pakistan Armed Force, and at the same time they targeted activists of Awami League and students and intellectuals, because they felt it was the students and intellectuals that were at the foreground of the Bengali nationalist movement. So as a result, they went for Dhaka University, where most of the students were staying, and the Bengali intellectuals. And I mean, there are different numbers quoted, but I think I read somewhere where it said that on that night alone, at least 25,000 people were killed in Dhaka. I don't know the number of students or the intellectuals that were killed, but as I said, they went for students, they went for Awami League party people, they went for the Hindu community. The Hindu community bore the brunt of Pakistani violence. They went for slums, and I have no idea why they went for the poor people. So Dhaka woke up on this 26th of March in the morning to see the whole, more or less the whole city burning. And as I said, that went on throughout the 9 months across Bangladesh. But the assault started in Dhaka. And even towards the end of the war, we know on the 14th of December, so this is 2 days before the surrender, a large number of Bengali intellectuals, hundreds, maybe 200-300, were picked up, abducted at night from their homes, blindfolded, and then they were taken to killing fields and they were shot dead. And their bodies were found after Bangladesh became, free after the 16th of December. And their bodies were found in the fields of Mirpur and another Mohammadpur in Dhaka.
Sir, as you said, 9 months the brutalities continued. In Pakistan, we are said that no, Pakistan army did not do any genocide, and but international press reported widely on this topic. How would you rate the use of rape as weapon of war?
Yeah.
In Pakistan, they say that no, Pakistan army cannot do this. But of course, international press has reported. What was the situation of rape of Bengali women?
Yes, I mean, you're right. Many Pakistan has been denying that they carried out atrocities or rape. But one only has to look at the foreign news agencies and their reports in 71, reports of Oxfam, of United Nations, Red Cross. In terms of number, it said anything between 200 to 400,000 women were raped in Bangladesh, regardless whether they were Hindu or Muslims. They were considered to be the war booty of victorious Pakistani Muslim soldiers. There was also prejudice at work. They felt that the Bengali Muslims were not pious Muslims because they were converts from Hindu, and it was their right to impregnate these women to produce Pakistani pious Muslim babies. And we also know of reports where they had created camps where women were kept as sex slaves for the use of Pakistani military officers. And there are many witness accounts of those camps and how they're abused. Many of them in recent time have come forward and have spoken of their brutal experience. There are a number of academic books that one can read to find out more about the rape that took place in Bangladesh. If I can mention one book, if you want. Okay, so this book is by Brown Miller, and it's called Against Our Will. And I'll just maybe read a few lines from this book. So the rapes of women were justified by the misuse of religion. In accordance with the Islamic principles, the women were Pakistani sex slaves, and it was their duty to reproduce Islamic Pakistani babies of Pakistani soldiers, of course. The women were also seen a war booty for the victorious soldiers. And what was tragic, that the women who suffered during the war were humiliated and suffered second time around after Bangladesh became independent because of how the society as a large saw them. They were, because of there were suicides, there were abortions, because of ostracized by the society. Many of their families, their husbands, brothers, refused to accept them because of the fact that they had been raped. And as I said, the figure is anything between 200 to 400,000. And at the time, Time magazine actually reported of some of those accounts of women being raped. So it is very well established, documented, and there are evidence of women being raped, regardless of what the Pakistani military may want to say.
Sir, during the creation of Pakistan in 1947, there was a mass migration, and many from western side they migrated to West Pakistan, but from Bihar and bordering to East Pakistan, they migrated to Bangladesh, East Pakistan. So, what was the role of these Biharis during this Pakistani genocide of Bengalis? What was the Bihari role?
Well, as you said, the Biharis came to Bangladesh in 47 after the partition of India. Bihari Muslims came from the state of Bihar. And I think they are probably known as Muhajirs in West Pakistan. I think because they spoke Urdu, and because of their reluctance to learn Bengali, they failed to integrate with the local Bengali community. And as I said, because they spoke Urdu, they were much at ease with people from West Pakistan, and with the people from the administration or the military who were of West Pakistani origin. So I think it was natural when the war broke out, or even before the war, they did not support the movement of self-autonomy or the independence of Bangladesh. And what was more disturbing is that some of them, I must say, not the whole community, some of them had actually formed paramilitia forces, namely Razakars, Al-Badr, Al-Sams, and they worked alongside the Pakistani military. Because they were locals, they could easily assist the Pakistani army in identifying homes and houses belonging to pro-liberation people or people of Hindu community or members of Awami League. So they, as I said, they fought alongside the Pakistani military against the Bengali freedom fighters, but at the same time, they had also formed their own militia forces and were targeting local Bengalis who were in support of independence of Bangladesh. So many of them had also taken part in violence against the Bengali community. But I should point out that was not the case of the entire Bihari community, some within the community. And as a result, I'm afraid the Bihari community is still suffering. Today in Bangladesh, we have perhaps 200,000 Biharis who are living in camps because they refuse Bangladesh as a country of their own. And they had obviously left India to come to Pakistan. And Pakistan has been refusing to take them back since 1971. Pakistan had said that they would take back their citizens. From what I know, I think following the war, they took some, maybe 50 to 60,000, but the vast majority are still in camps in Bangladesh in appalling condition because they are stateless people. They do not belong to Pakistan. They have refused to take Bangladeshi citizenship, and they obviously do not want to go back to India. So because they are stateless, it's difficult for NGOs to work with them or get resources or funding to help them. So unless Pakistan takes them, I'm afraid the case or the future of Bihari community is very bleak. Unless they decide to become, Bangladeshi and move out of the scheme, and some have, married locally and left the camps and have become Bangladeshi nationals. So it is a case of tragedy for Biharis, I would say, definitely.
Sir, there is an organization called Jamaat Islami. That is a jihadi organization. We liberal Pakistanis call Jamaat Islami mother of all terrorism. They fought a long war in Afghanistan, and they are a terrorist group. Their role in East Pakistan was very horrific. Al-Shams and Al-Badr were created by Jamaat Islami. And I think in Bangladesh in 2012, some of Jamaatis were hanged on war crimes. Do you think it is satisfactory, or still there is much more to do? There are much absconders.
I mean, you're right, Jamaat, as depicting Jamaat Islami as the largest organized Islamist political group in South Asia. And one has to look at their history. They've never been on the side of the people. In fact, they did not support the movement of Pakistan. And we know that once Pakistan was created, they incited hatred and violence against the Ahmadiyya community in Pakistan. And of course, in 71, they did not side with the population of Bangladesh. They sided with the Pakistani military junta, and they had set up peace committees in various districts across Bangladesh to provide political support to the Pakistani military and the Pakistani ruling elite at the time. And he rightly said that they had also formed a number of a sort of militia forces, which I mentioned earlier on in relation to the Biharis, mainly the Rajakar force, and then Al-Badr and Al-Sams. The role of the Rajakar was mainly to provide auxiliary support to the Pakistani forces and do mundane duties like guarding checkposts and assisting and helping the Pakistani army because they were locals, they were Bengali speaking. But the Al-Badr and the Al-Sams were more like Gestapo. They were like secret forces that would operate in secrecy, in dark, and they were responsible for pointing out, leading Pakistani military to homes and towns and villages where there was a strong support for Bangladesh, and they were also responsible for the killings of intellectuals on the 14th of December. Bangladesh government has restarted the trial of war criminals in 2010 by establishing International Crimes Tribunal in Dhaka, and so far they have tried a number of accused war criminals, mainly belonging to Jamaat Islami, but of course to other parties, including Muslim League and others, because in 71 it was not just Jamaat Islami, it was also the Muslim League, Najami Islam, and two other parties that opposed the Bangladesh movement. So the trial that had started in 2010 is continuing. It's not a new trial. The trial had started after 71. Sheikh Mujib government started the trial of local collaborators and war criminals. But following his assassination in 75 in a right-wing coup, the trial had stopped. So this is really a continuing process from that period. And so far, only the local Bengali collaborators has been tried. We are yet to see the Pakistani military being indicted and being put on trial. So it's a continuing process, and it has to go on if we are to ensure justice. And members of martyred families have been campaigning since 71 for justice. So I think as human beings, we ought to support this quest for justice. So I think the trial will continue. It is not necessarily against Jamaat Islami, it is against those who are accused of committing war crimes.
Sir, there was a genocide in Bosnia, and after that genocide, there was a International War Crimes Tribunal by International Court of Justice for genocide, and some people were convicted in that and punished. Don't you think that Bangladeshi government should push for International War Crimes Tribunal, because that tribunal which you are talking about is within the Bangladesh? But don't you think that this was a genocide which is widely reported? An International Court of Justice should create a war crime tribunal and bring the culprits to justice?
Yes, I agree with you 100%. I obviously cannot answer for the Bangladesh government. It's for the Bangladesh government to decide how to proceed. But I think the international community failed Bangladesh in 71. As a result, Bangladesh had to create its own tribunal. The world community was silent of war crimes in 71. The United Nations, nobody came forward. Bangladesh created its own tribunal because Bangladesh feels that it has a strong judiciary and enough resources to conduct such trial. And it is according to international law. So what Bangladesh is doing is internationally recognized. In terms of going to the International War Crimes Tribunal in Hague, that is not possible because the Hague will only take case since its establishment. So it doesn't, go date back. But I think Bangladesh could definitely go to the International Court of Justice, which could look into the genocide carried out by Pakistan or the atrocities that took place in Bangladesh at the time not only the International Court of Justice, but United Nations itself could perhaps come to assist Bangladesh. And I'm aware that the one of their consultants on war crimes did come to Bangladesh before the current tribunal was set up in 2010. So there are many avenues and possibilities, but I think at the end of the day, unless Pakistan cooperates, nothing will happen. Pakistan has to cooperate as one of the participating nation, and of their soldiers being accused of war crimes, so they have to be party to it. Unless they're on the table, I'm afraid nothing's going to happen. So it has to be Bangladesh, Pakistan, and international agencies like the United Nations or International Court of Justice that could see this process.
Sir, as you said in your earlier statement that Pakistan after Jinnah was taken over by military junta, and they started ruling Pakistan, which is going on even today. So Pakistan will not cooperate in this, no, never. They will not. They are still committing genocide of Baloch people in Pakistan, Pashtun people and Sindhis, and everyone is fed up of Punjabi army's atrocities. Sir, how do you see the role of India in independence of Bangladesh?
Well, India came to our aid in 71. We are talking about a period of Cold War when the global community was divided amongst alliance to either to Soviet Union or to the US. And during the war of Bangladesh, America and China supported Pakistan, whereas India and Russia or Soviet Union came to support us. I do not wish to undermine the support India provided to us. Without Indian support, I think it would have been might have been impossible for us to free Bangladesh in such a short space of time. One has to look at the various countries, even today, who are fighting for national independence. Without the support of their neighbors, it's almost impossible to get independence. India trained Bengali freedom fighters. 10 million people from Bangladesh fled and took refuge in India. The Bangladesh exile government, the Bangladesh Free Independent radio station, and other government missionaries were allowed to operate from Indian soil. And as you know, towards the end of the war, I think on the 3rd of December, India finally or formally entered the war, and formed a allied force with the Bengali freedom fighters and entered East Pakistan or Bangladesh to finally liberate Bangladesh from the Pakistani occupying forces. So India's role was huge in terms of Bangladeshi independence. And the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, who went on a world tour to lobby, to highlight the atrocities that was being carried out, and also to lobby political support for the Bangladesh movement, despite getting a very cold shoulder from the US. And even following the independence of Bangladesh, India in the first few years helped and assisted in rebuilding the country in terms of infrastructure, connecting roads and bridges, because the retreating Pakistani military had destroyed most of the bridges and had blown up railway lines and roads. So India had to rebuild and reconnect the country so that Bangladesh could operate as a functioning country. So India's help, I would say, was immense, and we definitely we acknowledge the help provided by India in 71.
Sir, in West Pakistan, we were always said that Bangladesh is a poor country, East Pakistan is a poor region, and they don't have resources and they depend on us. While we see that after 1971, Bangladesh economy's progress is exemplary, and it is Asia's fastest booming economy. The export, the GDP, everything is fastest in South Asia. So, do you think that Bangladesh has achieved its potential, or still there is much more to do?
There is obviously much more to do. We still have a large number of people who are living under poverty line. We still need to educate large number of population. We need to empower women folk of the country. So there is a lot to do, but it's true that Bangladesh economically has been doing fairly well in the last decade or so. In fact, I think from 2015, Bangladesh has left India and Pakistan behind in terms of number of social factors, in terms of its GDP. And you mentioned that in Pakistan, you were told of Bengalis or Bangladesh being poor. I mean, there were a number of other propaganda and prejudice that was propagated within Pakistan against against Bangladesh or Bengali people as a whole. And we were told the same thing, that Bengalis are, they're passive people, they're small, they're dark, they're not a martial race. I remember during Pakistan time, we were told that Bengalis can't play cricket. And nowadays, of course, we are in the World League. We were told that Bangladesh was not fit in terms of climate to make films. We make good films nowadays. So I think, given the opportunity, we have proved them wrong in all those counts. And I think as a country, because we are addressing many of our social issues, because we have given emphasis on education, we are allowing empowerment of women, and I think the infrastructure, the stress on the infrastructure, and the large skill force that we have today, I think they're all contributing towards Bangladesh's, economic performance.
Sir, on the eastern side of Bangladesh, there is a country, Burma and Myanmar, and there is a Rohingya issue. What
Yes.
is Rohingya issue? And even Indians are also complaining that there are so many Rohingyas coming to India. There are so many Rohingyas coming to Bangladesh. What is this Rohingya issue, and how important it is for Bangladesh scenario?
Rohingya, well, it's very important because we are holding majority of Rohingyas who have fled Burma or Myanmar in the last few years. In fact, I think since 2017, there are at least 1 million Rohingyas in Bangladesh in various camps in Chittagong. But of course, Rohingyas are also in India, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, even Saudi Arabia. At various times they have fled Myanmar and have taken refuge in various countries. The issue of Rohingya is historical and complex, and it goes back a number of years. But I think the issue is really the failure of Myanmar to accept Rohingyas as their citizens is where the problem stems from. The Muslims of Myanmar can trace back their origin to 15th century when Arab tradesmen came and settled in Myanmar. And over the centuries, many Muslims and Bengali Muslims who have perhaps gone from India to settle in Myanmar and have become that Muslim community of Myanmar. And of course, during the British rule, it was one India, and the Brits had taken many Muslims from India to go and work in Myanmar. So the people that we are referring today have been there for centuries. They are not new refugees, as Myanmar claims. They have been living there for centuries, starting from the time of Arab traders to British period. I am not aware of any Muslims either during Pakistan time or Bangladesh time going to Burma to live there. They're all very old established community in Burma. The Rohingyas are from Rohang or Rakhine state in Burma, who are they speak a similar dialect to people close to Chittagong area. Majority of them are Muslims, but there are also a small number of Rohingya Hindus who have come to Bangladesh during this latest violent action against the community by Burmese military. So it's an ongoing process, and I think Burma itself, I think since 48, has from time to time have refused to accept the Rohingyas as their own citizens. And at times they have, they have stripped their citizenship. The Burmese military has done the same. Recently, there has been a fundamentalist Buddhist movement against the Rohingyas. I think the Saffron movement, they incited hatred against the Rohingyas. So there has been, a year of persecution against the Rohingya people. What is more sad is that Aung San Suu Kyi is also not very supportive of this Rohingya community, despite the fact that the Rohingya community worked very closely with her father and supported her party at various elections. Yet she perhaps is suffering from anti-Muslim prejudice. As a result, she is very anti-Rohingya. So when you have the military, its leader, the whole country against a community, it's very easy to cleanse the entire community. So I would say, I don't know the exact number of Rohingyas in Burma, but more or less they have cleared 90% of its population, who have now taken refuge in Cox's Bazar in Chittagong, Bangladesh.
Sir, how do you see relationship of Bangladesh with today's India and today's Pakistan? Because now what has gone before 50 years. How do you consider your relationship, the country, Bangladesh, with India and Pakistan?
Bangladesh, from the beginning, have said, they hold no grudges against Pakistan. The war was not against the people of Pakistan, it was against the military junta. And Bangladesh's foreign policy is friendship with all. With India, we've had, relationships since 71. There has been problems down the line. There are issues that we need to resolve in terms of border disputes, border killings, sharing of water, business exchange. But on the whole, I feel that the relationship with India is fine. Similarly with Pakistan, despite the unable to resolve some of the issues, the diplomatic relationship is okay. There is no problem. I mean, with Pakistan, we still have a number of issues that needs to be resolved. Mainly, as I mentioned, the issue of war crime, the issue of compensation, and the issue of repatriation of the Biharis back to Pakistan. On the whole, I think the people of Bangladesh holds no grudge against Pakistan, and Bangladesh as a nation also has no problem with Pakistan. But Bangladesh do feel in order to go forward, they need to address some of the past issues or some of the issues that hasn't been resolved yet. And I think only then we can move forward in a more amicable way. I also think that young people of all these three countries need to know the history, fairly objective history and not a propaganda style of history. India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, because after all, we all share, we have a shared heritage, culture, language, food habits across South Asia. So I feel for the peace and prosperity of the whole of South Asia, all three countries should definitely work together.
Sir, my last question. In Bangladesh, there is a very big number of minorities, religious minorities, mainly Hindus and Buddhists. How is the situation of them? Because in Pakistan, religious minorities are in very bad condition. There is forced conversion going on. There is blasphemy laws hanging on them. So what is the situation of minorities in Bangladesh?
It's not perfect, but I think compared to Pakistan, maybe it's slightly better, or compared to India. In terms of interfaith riots, we've had less of them in Bangladesh compared to both India and Pakistan. But I must point out that prior to 71, 30%, if not 30, at least 25% were of minority community in Bangladesh. Today, I think it's only 10%. So, 85, 90% are Muslim, and then you have 10% Hindus, and then 0.5 something probably belonging to Hindu or Buddhist community. And I think this it has come to this because of indirect prejudice and persecution of minority community in Bangladesh, to an extent inspired by Pakistani Islamist parties and Bangladeshi Islamist parties, who from time to time have advocated for blasphemy laws and to declare them non-Muslims, especially in the case of Ahmadiyya community. But as you know, Bangladesh is a secular state, and it's enshrined in its constitution to protect all citizens, regardless of their faith or their religious origin. So the state itself provides the protection, but from time to time, vested, politically motivated Muslim majority community, they tend to go after the Hindu community, and it's always to do with election or politics or land grabbing. So because the Muslim majority feel that the Hindu minority are weak, it's perhaps easier to grab their land. And during election time, because the Hindus are seen as supporter of Awami League, so those parties who are opposed to Awami League, they usually tend to go for the Hindu community for not voting them at election. So those kind of violence have taken place. And every time there's a violence, people tend to leave Bangladesh, either go to India or Europe. And we saw that during the the destruction of Ayodhya, the mosque in India, its reaction in Bangladesh was that the Hindu community was targeted, their temples were destroyed, and as a result, many Hindus felt unsafe in Bangladesh, left Bangladesh, and moved to either West Bengal or perhaps to Canada or United States. So, what happens in India or in Bangladesh or Pakistan has a ripple effect in other countries. And unfortunately, though we take pride, the Bengalis, that we are very much a multi-faith community, and we have been living with other communities for centuries. We are very liberal. I'm afraid there has been instances where minority community has been persecuted in Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, sir. It was all your honest thing that you have given. You did not try to hide anything. And sir, thank you very much for all these things. And I wish all the best to my Bengali friends, Bengali brothers, sisters, because it is a very beautiful nation that is developing very fast, be it cricket, be it films, be it in economic development. All my best wishes for Bengali people.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. And I want to say that, as I said, I'm obviously not an expert. I only told you what I know of. One can always check the facts if they want to. And we also have lots of meetings within our community. And if it's okay, we may invite you to participate in those meetings, on common front, for example, fighting extremism, fundamentalism, or one's right for self-autonomy, or fighting against oppression. I'm sure we can work together. And I do hope to see you in the future once the lockdown is completely over and we come out of this COVID pandemic. So yes, all the best to you and your viewers, and definitely we will connect in the future.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I was present in Bangla Bandhu's 100 years celebration earlier this year during COVID. I was in webinars also. And when Bangladesh ambassador had a reception after that, I was also invited. So I will be very much honored to be part of any meeting, sir.
Yes, we will definitely invite you. And as I said, most of the events are happening online on webinar. So there are a number being planned. As you said, we are currently celebrating the centenary of Sheikh Mujib. But next year, it will be the golden jubilee of Bangladesh's independence. So it's 50th year from next year. I shall definitely call upon you and definitely speak to you. We would be happy to have you as our guest.
Thank you, sir. So kind of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
So do I say bye here now? What do I do?